Hi, everyone. Thank you so much for joining me for Let's Chat. My name is Shayla Reeves, and today we're going to be talking with a dynamic group of women who are crafting their version of the American dream. I'm going to quickly play an intro to give just a few more minutes for folks to join us, and we'll be back in just a couple of minutes to meet all of the dynamic women joining us for this conversation tonight.
I always like to create an environment where people feel comfortable to ask questions. You don't always know what you don't know. You may not have it all figured out today, and that's okay. Taking one step at a time, those glimmers become a consistent light. It all finally begins to click. Each and every moment that you experience is shaping the person you are in this life to be.
Sometimes our pain points go all the way back to childhood.
What if I allowed myself to imagine a life that was more spacious and expansive than the one I'm living?
What if I don't have to live the same way that everyone else is living?
When you are authentic, your energy changes and the people around you change. It's just like doors just start opening. You're like, well, wait, how did this happen? How did this happen? How did this happen? You're showing up completely different.
And often it does require healing and going in some uncomfortable spaces before we can truly flourish.
Hi, everyone. Thank you so much for joining me for Let's Chat. My name is Shayla Reeves, and today we're going to be talking about crafting a new life. And I'm going to bring up our guests today. First, let's show you who we're meeting today. We have Danielle Steer. She's the founding executive director for Lunar Startups. We have Mimi Selam, chef, speaker, cooking instructor. Claudia Gutierrez was not able to join us this evening, but we will be making efforts to get her story out in the very near future. Roseline Friedrich, CEO, founder, maker, visionary executive for Rosaline's Candles, and Fabiana Peterson, entrepreneur and brain health coach. I'm going to bring everybody up now so you can meet them all for this conversation. We'll have Danielle joining us here, Mimi, Fabiana, and last but not least, Roseline. Thank you all so much for joining me today.
Thank you for having us.
Thank you.
Absolutely. Well, I've had a chance to meet many of you just individually. We've been conversing since this topic came up. Others of you have had a chance to meet through work and other spaces. But I thought that you all had such fascinating stories that would be great to share with others who maybe, are wondering, like, what can I do? What opportunities are out there that are available to me? How do I connect with resources in the Twin Cities to grow and expand and develop my idea into reality? And so I thought you all would be such a dynamic group to get together and share your stories, your journeys, your experiences to hopefully inform, inspire, and encourage others who may be looking to live their dreams. I'll go ahead and start with you, Roseline. Tell me a little bit about your story. I thought it was so fascinating that, you kind of started with a party, making candles, inviting some friends, and now you are in a physical, tangible location with a storefront. And this thing that you started, just, an idea, it's now a full-fledged business reality. That's incredible.
So yeah, thank you. It has been quite the journey. I call myself an accidental entrepreneur, and it's because I really did not know that I was going to be where I'm at today. So when I started making candles, I was just doing it out of trying to do something else with myself after work. I worked in mental health and social services, and you can easily bring a lot at home with you. And so finding something to do outside of work was super important to me. And so when I started making the candles, I was just doing it for fun. And so when I had my friends over for that, my first candle making party in December 2019, they got really excited about the idea and encouraged me to make it into a business, because they were like, well, your candles are amazing. They're made with 100% natural ingredients, and you're using recycled jars, and sustainability is really important in my business. So they really cheered me on, and they started buying from me, and they pushed me to grow, and the demand was there, and they started messaging me on Instagram, Facebook, and text messages, and then they pushed me to start a website. And eventually I had to quit my job so that I could meet the demand of the people that were behind our dream of making 100% soy candles from recycled jars, and the demand has always been there. So yeah, and now we have a store. Our grand opening was actually just last night, and I'm at the store right now. I can show you what it looks like.
Oh,
And
yeah, we'll have to do that. Yeah,
I just had
yeah.
a making class, and so I had to step out so my husband could take over the class, but they left. And now
Uh-huh.
we're going to show you the studio. And
Oh,
so
sure.
all of this dream has been slow but long time coming. This is our first day open to the public, besides the candle making class. And so it hasn't caught up with me yet that this is actually happening, and that I'm a storefront owner and an e-commerce business owner. So, you're at the store right. We're at the store right now, and in here there's when you walk into the store, there's our candles are displayed everywhere, and then we have other local artisans' gifts over here, and we're on the corner of Central and Lowry. So when we make candles at the bar over here. The bar. This is my husband Calvin. He helps me a lot. And we have a huge wax melter now, which is a commercial. And then this is where a lot of our gifts are for like other local vendors and local artisans can come in here, and people come in here to buy gifts all the time. And the last 2 weeks that we were soft open, people have been buying gifts from us. And so we got lots of plants and art stuff behind us. And yeah, this is the store.
That is awesome. Congratulations to you. And how much time are we talking about between hosting that first party and getting to now? Was this over a period of months or years, or what, how would you say?
I would say it was probably a year and a half.
Wow.
Wait, 2 years. So the candle making party was December 2019. So a year and a half. I became a full-time entrepreneur, full-time business owner, March 2021. So I had not, again, the demand was there, and I'll be at work trying to take care of whatever my caseload was saying to me, but people would message me and say, hey, I need candles. When can you ship my products to me? And so I decided to take a pause on the full-time work to quit my full-time job so I could focus on the candles. And yeah.
That's incredible. And your life looks completely different from a year and a half ago. And I would imagine what you thought you would be doing before that party versus where you are now. I mean, what do you think when you think about your journey and where you are now?
I feel incredibly, part of me feels humbled. Well, a lot of me feels humbled because I just didn't know that. I didn't realize the power of believing in oneself, and also letting other people help you. And so a lot of people have stepped up. When I started the business, micro grants were there available to help me with my inventory. My husband has always been supportive of my dreams. My family has always been supportive of it. And so I feel like it hasn't hit me yet. It feels surreal right now. And I think it's going to hit me probably in a couple of weeks once I'm just like looking at the numbers. And so, but I'm in awe, and I'm humbled, and I'm incredibly grateful to the number of organizations and people in the community that have rallied up to help me be where I'm at today. So I think the first thing I'm feeling is gratefulness, and the excitement is going to come soon.
That's wonderful. We have a comment here. Wanda is saying, congratulations, Roseline, on your store opening. You have great items. Thanks for sharing. And she also adds, good evening and hello, everyone. Thanks so much for watching, Wanda. And Roseline, before we move on from you, like, tell me a little bit about, you said your family's been very supportive. Your family, they're from Cameroon, is that right?
Yeah. So I was born. Yep. Go ahead.
Oh, you go ahead. Yes. You just tell me your story, your family story.
So I moved to the U.S. when I was 14 from Cameroon. My parents wanted us to go to school here to get a really good education, to get access to opportunities and resources. And so I have two moms. So my mom and dad, my dad's sister took us on, me and my sister, when we got to the U.S. And she's our mom here. And so my parents are still back home. And from there, they just told us, here's the world of opportunities in front of you, flap your wings, essentially. And so we did that. My sister and I, we worked hard. I mean, education was super important to us. And so we went to high school here and then college here. And then after college, I went to grad school for like 1 year in Texas. And I moved back home because I missed family here. So I have a couple cousins and brothers, and my husband, I'm married now. And so, yeah, my family, like having them there to remind me that I lived in a country that had so many opportunities and resources, and always reminding me that the world was my oyster, really helped me to not feel like I had to just stick to one thing or the other, but that I could dream and dream big and keep going. And they always would say, even if I quit a job and I wasn't happy, they'd be like, okay, let's try something else. And so, yeah, that's my family.
And when you hear her story, Danielle is the founding executive director for Lunar Startups. When you hear stories like Roseline's, what do you think?
Well, first, thanks for having me for this lovely conversation. What an amazing powerhouse of professionals to get to be shoulder to shoulder with, or square to square with in this sense. I think what I hear is so inspiring and such a common story here in the United States. I think the idea of coming to this country and building a life within the context of what we offer here is so inspiring. And Roseline, I'm just so excited for you. And I really hope you get that moment to celebrate this immense win. Like, opening a storefront is such a big deal. I can only imagine how many sleepless nights that you had, and you deserve some rest for sure, but also for people to celebrate you. It's such an amazing accomplishment. And I think it's so inspiring to our community to see, in the midst of, post-pandemic, following what could be considered a recession in our economy, we're leaning on entrepreneurs like you to help us rebuild and to help us think about what does the after times look like? What is the economy going to look like? And I just think it's so important right now.
And Lunar Startups is one of the organizations here in the Twin Cities that when people are saying, hey, I want to start this new thing, I don't know if I have business experience or how do I create and bring this vision to life? Lunar Startups is one of those resources here that can help connect people to realizing their dreams, right?
Absolutely. And I think one of the things that I love, I'm not originally from Minnesota, but when I moved here 6.5 years ago, I was so inspired by the amount of organizations and individuals that are just deeply dedicated to supporting the business community here in the Twin Cities. And when we started, when I moved here, I saw that there was also some gaps and opportunities in terms of who wasn't getting served and who wasn't getting access to the same types of experiences and networks. The thing we like to talk about at Lunar is that there are 3 key ingredients to success for all entrepreneurs. Social capital, it's not just what you know, but who you know. Inspiration capital, are there people around you who can shine a light on ways to grow or to build your business? And then, of course, financial capital. You got to have the green to go. And when we look at the broader ecosystem, some people have more access at some of those points than others. And so there's a really robust community here in the Twin Cities that's dedicated to supporting people with great ideas like Roseline and the others that are on this call in order to be able to grow their businesses. I think where Lunar fits in that. Historically, economic development agencies have played such a critical role in the Twin Cities and beyond in starting businesses. But then when entrepreneurs get to a point where they say, okay, Roseline, because you went first, we'll use you as the example. You have this storefront. It's an amazing retail space. What if you wanted to be on the shelves at Target and Costco and how do we enable more entrepreneurs to really get to that point of scale? And I think that's where Lunar comes in, is we want to be that bridge between kind of the local small business, which is so critical in our local economy, and also pushing ambition and pushing, how people see themselves. Because I think, this point was already made, brought up, that it can be hard when you have self-doubt, or you're not quite sure. I don't have a business degree, or I don't have a certificate. And what we find is that really the reality is the most successful entrepreneurs, if you can find people to help you out, if you can be curious, and I heard someone at Target Accelerator say today, if you can be a student of your industry and of your product, then those are some of the key things that are going to really help you get to that next phase. And that's what we want to see more of. We want to see more people having access to resources and ideas and opportunities, and to capital, most importantly, so that they can really grow and build their businesses.
And part of that really comes with like embracing what your actual passions are, and having the courage to do more of that thing that you really enjoy. The courage to make more candles, the courage to, and I know Fabiana, you work as a life coach, but you are really focused on empowering people to live their best life. And Mimi, you're focused on cooking and your passion for cooking and sharing that with the community. Mimi, tell us a little bit about your journey too. I know you were born in Ethiopia. You grew up in Ethiopia and Eritrea before eventually moving here to the Twin Cities. And you're one of those people too who's really embracing your passions, sharing them with others, and for you, creating an opportunity to share your culture through food.
Yes, first I want to say thank you for having me here. I really appreciate it. And my real name is Selam Aspaha, and I go by Mimi. Mimi is a nickname for baby girl. So it stayed with me, and everyone calls me Mimi. And I came from a family, my parents are from Eritrea. I was born and raised in Ethiopia. So the two countries have their own culture, or their own identity now, I should say. So I was born and raised in Ethiopia, but I'm not Ethiopian, I'm Eritrean. But culture-wise, food-wise, everything is very similar. And when I was growing up, I basically, being the oldest in my family, I have a sister and a brother younger than me. I always like to cook. So when I follow my mother, my grandmother, everyone that comes to the house, my aunts. So every time I didn't want just to eat, I wanted to see what they're cooking. So I had that in me way before even I came to the States. And then my family used to work, traveling around the world. We traveled to West Africa, to Ghana, to Europe. And then when we finally came here, I was in high school at that time. Then the international type of foods, or the different kind of foods or recipes, really inspired me. So I did work for the corporate world for the last 20 years, but each time I was always interested in cooking, and then inspiring others. Like when we have a get together, I would have a recipe bring up, and then they would say, oh, how did you cook it? And then I will always show them, or I will always teach them. So that's where the idea came from. And I was married for 22 years and recently divorced. And my career was on hold while I was raising my 4 children. I also have twins in the middle, but now they're growing. And my youngest one is 15 that lives with me. So I have the perfect time to do it. So 4 years ago, I started teaching with the community education in my neighborhood in Farmington. And it grew from there. Within 4 years, to it became to where we are right now. I teach at Mall of America and different places now, nationwide.
And that's wonderful. You are sort of carving out your own space, creating opportunities to do the thing that you love to do and share that with people. For you, what is your ultimate dream? If you could be, living your dream and doing exactly what you want to be doing, what would that look like for you?
Oh, so far it's been a dream come true because it's nationwide or worldwide that I'm teaching. I do get participants, online from Australia, from England. So that's already a dream come true for me. But in the future, if I can have a station where I can actually teach in person my own, if that dream comes, and I would be more than happy. And I would still like to pursue teaching, and also the products that I'm doing, I would like to sell them maybe at the supermarkets, grocery stores and things like that. And recently, like today is actually the launch for my new at the gas station selling food. So I'm actually selling the egg rolls, samosa, kebabs, and variety of international type of food, not just Ethiopian. And I started that today at lunchtime and it went really well. So I like to pursue that as well.
That's wonderful. Congratulations to you. And Mimi, I know one of the things you told me when we had a chance to connect earlier, you said you're teaching virtually and in person right here, and you've got classes in 16 different districts. Is that right?
Yes, correct. Actually, I just had one class yesterday, and that consisted of 5 different districts all together. It was online, and I have another one coming up next week. So if you look on your community education, the catalog one, I should be there.
Busy, busy, busy. Danielle, when you hear her story, what do you think?
I mean, I love that. And food is so powerful, right? In so many cultures around the world, the ability to bring your love and connection and to bring your food into the work, I think is such a treasure. And to be able to have that kind of reach, I think is so exciting for so many other people to see. You clearly have love and passion for that. I also really appreciate, Mimi, how relatable your story is, in the context of a changing family dynamic, you really stepping forward kind of into this new position of leadership for yourself. And I think that's so exciting.
Yes, absolutely.
And I know while we're really highlighting food, I know you do many things, Mimi, like chef, speaker, entrepreneur, event organizer, language interpreter. You serve many roles wherever you're needed. You have so many skills and a broad range of talents that really benefit so many people within your network and circle.
Yes, that I kind of like to keep myself busy. I did do the corporate world, and I was sitting in the office. So even though I'm sitting doing the best that I can at work, in my mind I'm thinking, what should I do when I get off work? So I log into my interpreting, and I do interpret nationwide, and I do that on my part time. So I actually do 5 different things in a day sometimes, and I like that. I enjoy it.
That's wonderful. And that's so important that you enjoy and you love what you do, because it makes it so much easier to continue to do it if you're passionate about it, and sharing what you love with others. It's really what it's all about. And I know, Mimi, you spent part of your time, your professional life in corporate. I know, Fabiana, that's part of your story too. You've spent many years in corporate. And tell us a little bit about your journey too. You are originally from Brazil, right?
Yes, I am. I grew up in Brazil. I always joke that the girl from Ipanema ended up in the Lake of Minnetonka. I moved here. But at the end of the day, I moved first to New York. At 29 years old, I left Brazil. So I literally, my childhood and teenage years and beginning of adulthood was in Brazil. I moved to New York when I was 29 years old. and I transferred from Bloomberg, and I used to run Bloomberg in Latin America for the administrative side of the business. And I transferred to New York when I met this boy from Minnetonka that brought me to the U.S. and I was there for 10 years. And then in between there and Minnesota, I was back in Rio for about a year and a half. Didn't get adjusted back to the safety issues of Brazil, unfortunately. So that's why I came back to Minnesota 11 years ago.
And since being in Minnesota, tell me a little bit about your journey to Feel Fabulous by Fabiana. Some of what you talk about in that space, it was informed by your personal journey, your personal story, and then your personal interest in helping others see the best of who they are too, right?
Yeah, I was in the corporate world for 30 years. So I was in the financial markets for 20 of those years. And after a very hard divorce, as if any divorce is easy, but after a very hard divorce, I learned so many lessons. And the way I ended up coming out of it, the choices that I've made, the way I behave, I came out very positive. And because of that and all the experiences that I've had, I ended up creating an Instagram account, Feel Fabulous by Fabiana, where I used to creating motivation and inspirational messages, beginning for women. And that just started evolving. While I'm going through divorce, I ended up having to look for a job to pay more. You know, I needed the financial help of making more money, and ended up being let go of that job for the first time in my life, which was a very interesting learning experience as well. I was in the technical business intelligence software, and they were acquired by a private equity, and they changed my role. And I was like, I was not hired to do this, and I'm not gonna resign. And I knew this was gonna happen. And when I was looking for a job after I was let go, I created an Instagram account. And one person that followed me, I think it was someone from London, said, "Oh my God, your messages and all of your energy and everything just changed my life. Are you a life coach?" And I was like, I've never thought of that. And I started studying about it, talking to people that were life coaches, did the certification in Chicago, printed my business cards, and never looked back. And then last year, is when I started figuring out if I don't understand the organ in the body that creates all the thoughts, feelings, and emotions and behaviors, which is the brain, I'm not going to be a good life coach. So I dove into the neuroscience and science of human emotion and got a certification as a brain health coach. And now that's what I do. I help people literally rewire their brain. Neuroplasticity, like self-directed neuroplasticity, let's just say. And I love it.
And that's something that I hear in your story and Rosaline's story and Mimi's story, the passion and the love for what it is that you're doing. I'm sure the process can sometimes feel scary or daunting when you're going into what feels like an unfamiliar space, a journey that you didn't expect to be on. But sometimes the courage to stay on that path can reveal so many incredible things, as far as maybe strength and resilience that you didn't realize that you had, or even you're learning lessons that you didn't realize that you needed to learn. And in your case, Roseline, it's like you're growing and expanding and evolving in this way that I'm imagining if you thought back 5 years ago, the path and the journey that you're on right now, it wasn't even one you thought you would be on, right?
No, I did not think I would be here. I just got a job. When I quit the job I quit, I was working at a nonprofit that was an excellent nonprofit. And I was like, I'm going to be here. I'm going to climb the ladder and be like a program manager and do X and Y and Z. So I didn't really see myself here at all until other people believed that I could do it. And Danielle, you're completely correct. Social capital and having the people in your life who inspire you is one of the biggest things that really helped me to be where I'm at. And so I could not have imagined being my own boss. Like now, I thought I would still be like trying to climb that ladder to get to where I'm at. And so, yeah.
And Fabiana, when you look back on your journey over all these years from corporate to now you're in a different path, but the way you smile when you talk about where you are now and the life that you live now, like that comes from a very real place. All the work that you did to get to now and to brand and to evolve and to become the person that you are now. How do you feel? I mean, proud of yourself, I would hope.
I found my calling at 47 years old. That was 3 years ago, literally. And one of the things that probably most of people that know me say that your positive attitude is contagious. Your energy is contagious, because I probably was doing my self-directed neuroplasticity without even knowing what that meant, in the sense that I work through my thoughts. I try to not keep my negative thoughts. They come. 80% of our thoughts are negative. This research shows, and I don't call them negative. I call them protective thoughts, because that's what the brain is, a survival machine. So we are always trying to find what's wrong to be protecting ourselves. The brain is so old, from Stone Age, that we're still looking for the saber-toothed tiger on things that have nothing to do with that type of danger. And I always naturally kind of like kept that positive mindset. People call it mindset. It's just your thought process is exactly what hormones are released when you think. Cortisol for negative thoughts, serotonin for positive thoughts. Those hormones create the feelings, which are positive or negative. And if you have a positive feeling, it drives your positive behavior. If you have a negative feeling, it drives a negative behavior. So what do you prefer? You can choose, because your thought comes, you have full power. You have the prefrontal cortex, which is your cognitive side of the brain, that can totally, shift your thought and say, you know what? I know I can't do this. I'm nervous because of this and that, blah, 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 whatever. And take over the amygdala, which is the fight or flight part of your brain. I could talk for hours, so you can tell me.
Yes. Well, thank you so much for sharing that with us. And one thing that you said, and I wanted to ask you about this too, Danielle, sometimes people think, I know Fabiana said she was 47. It's never too late to evolve, to change the path that you're on. If you just have the courage to start, whatever that thing is that you've been sitting on or dreaming about, or, I wonder if I could, it could be within reach if you just have the courage to try, to do the research, to find the connections, the people that believe in where you want to go, right?
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that there's, something that you hear in the threads of all of these. We tell people all the time, choosing to be an entrepreneur is like choosing the hardest job in the world. You have to be the boss, the decider. You have to be the one that's responsible to customers. You have to be the one that ultimately is, financially responsible oftentimes for a lot of the decisions that you make. And there's so much pressure around it. And then you also have this human experience that you're dealing with. If you're a caregiver, if you are, a community member who's really active, if you have anything else going on, what Fabiana talked about in terms of the thought work, we talk about that all the time. A lot of times at Lunar, when entrepreneurs are coming into our program, we kind of assess, like, what are your thought patterns around yourself and how do you self-identify in your role as an entrepreneur? We know that 70% of women who start businesses don't identify as entrepreneur or CEO, even though they might technically, by definition be such. The goal for our program is that when they come out of the program, 100% of them identify as entrepreneur and CEO, because there is power in title, there is power in names, and there's a very clear mind shift change and mindset shift kind of that happens, that we see people stepping into their decision making in a different way. They're more confident in their decision making. And I think the other thing that is really obvious in all of these amazing stories is that there are no two journeys that are quite the same. It's putting together the different pieces in your life and the different cheerleaders in your life and the different resources in your life. They're going to help you to get there, but you got to have the passion for it. You got to feel really strongly about what you're bringing forward, about what problem you're solving ultimately. core of every business is what problem are you solving? And it's clear, that these professionals and these entrepreneurs on this call have a calling, they have purpose, they have passion, and that they're very dedicated to the customers that they're serving in terms of being able to do that. And I think that the combination of what all three of them have said around those pieces is so critical and so transferable, across all entrepreneurial experiences.
And one of the things that we kind of talked about is people get pulled in a lot of different directions. You maybe have a job that you need to have to pay the bills until your dream can sustain you. But then maybe you have family that depends on you, or as you mentioned, maybe your community depends on you in different ways. Sometimes people can say, maybe my dream can't happen because I'm needed in all these different spaces. But is some of it just rethinking or learning new ways to think about how to get from A to B, and maybe not saying it can't happen, maybe it can't happen in the way that I'm thinking about it, but maybe there are other ways to get where you want to be that, maybe aren't the path that, if you could dream up your perfect path, maybe it's not that one, but maybe there's another one.
Yeah, absolutely. I think it's interesting to think about from the context of, you can make a plan, never going to go as planned. Like, nothing in life goes as planned, right? And I think the same thing is around entrepreneurship. You can think you're bringing forward, one type of business, and then you talk to your customers, and then you talk to your friends, and then you talk to mentors and role models, and things shift and change, and that's how they evolve. I think that's the beautiful thing about what it really means to build a business and to be curious. I think it's a core trait that is really across all of these business owners. And I think that, like, that thought process, that thought work, there definitely is a function of, like, getting yourself pumped up and, like, hyped up to be like, okay, now's the time, I'm making this commitment. Or but I think what we've seen even on this call and the way that it started, there are no overnight successes. There are no kind of like tipping points that push things over all the time. It's thousands of little tiny aggregated decisions and moments and details. Fabiana being 43, 47 and having this epiphany, like, that to me, that's like facilitated serendipity right there. You were making choices throughout your entire career that led you to this moment. And, like, what a joy to be able to bring that forward. And that's all businesses. They're just a bunch of tiny little things. And that's why it's so important to celebrate. When you get the little wins, you got to celebrate it.
Yes. And Mimi, what do you feel is resonating with you from some of the other stories that you've heard today?
I actually can relate, with everyone's story. It's very inspiring, which I did see myself in those situations. There was sometimes that I say, this might not work, or maybe this is not the right time to do it. And everything does take time. But if you have a dream, do not be discouraged. That's the only thing I say. I always have this dream, and finally it's coming, reality. And this is not it. I have more ideas, more things that I need to share. So it's still coming. This is just the beginning. So the only thing that I don't like to do is, like, think about it and then forget about it. So instead, I'm making it happen. Whatever we dream about or we think about, make it reality. And that's the kind of inspiration I got from this phone call or from this meeting.
That's wonderful. And it's so important. And I think it's so important to share stories like yours, Mimi, Fabiana, Roseline, because there are people who are maybe watching that are sitting on some idea or some passion, or there's this thing that maybe is a hobby and they're just saying, oh, that's all it can be, is a hobby. But there are real life living success stories in the community we all call home. And sometimes just hearing how someone else didn't give up on their dream or didn't give up on creating space to live their passion, maybe there's a window for you to do that too. I'm sure, Roseline, with your meteoric rise in the last year and a half with your candle business, do you have people that come and approach you from time to time and they're just like, wanting to learn from your story, learn from your success?
Yes, often.
Mm-hmm.
And I think one of the main things that people ask is, how do you separate the feelings you're having from your business? And also like I have this idea, how do I do it? And I listened to a lot of books when I was making candles, and so I encourage people to always, so like, it sounds crazy to think about, like, how can you use every minute of your time to keep thinking about the ideas you have in your head? Like, don't give up on it. And so whenever I would be like at work or like making candles, I would listen to books from other entrepreneurs about people who had done it and who had done well. So the thing that I always tell people is to just launch it. Don't spend too much money, just launch it and see where it goes. And then after you launch it, if it doesn't go well, try something else, but don't be afraid to launch something that's different. And so people are curious because people want to learn and they want to grow. And most people want to do something, they want to live with purpose. And so if they're not getting that purpose from their job, they're going to keep thinking about what can I do next? What can I do to change the way that my life is going? And I think for me, you know, part of what I studied in school was sociology and psychology. So listening to you talking, Fabiana, like I was part of the cognitive behavioral therapy in my classes. It's like really a lot of times I'm sitting there telling people like, do not let your brain tell you you can't do this. Like talk yourself out of whatever doubts you're having, and then find the people in your life that actually believe in you and ask them what they will do to support you for your dreams. And then again, are you addressing the problem with whatever you're launching? If you're just launching something that's already been invented and it's not necessary, then you may have to rethink the way that you launch it or the way that you communicate your ideas differently from what has been done before. And so I'm the product of many people inspiring me and pushing me, and it has not been easy, but I always tell people to keep going and to to push through, and to a lot of mental work happens in the process.
And sometimes it's like, just like you said, start where you are, use what you have, share what you know, and, you know, hopefully growth comes in that. I always believe that if you throw yourself into the things that you're genuinely passionate about, you're showing up most authentically in the world, and people respond to that energy, and you attract more people that are really connecting to the realest parts of who you are. And so the things that you love, that you're passionate about, that you really want to do more of, they grow because the right people are just kind of finding you along your way. I wanted to ask Danielle, if someone's watching and they're hearing these stories and they're saying, where do I begin my journey? Sometimes it's not realistic for people to put a whole lot of money in it. I know, like Roseline said, sometimes, like try to start with very little just to see where it goes. But what's a realistic place? Also, what would you add to our conversation on that for folks watching? If you're apprehensive and you're like, I don't know if I can really do this, sometimes you may even have to start by just changing your circle and bringing more people into it that just believe in the place you want to go, because not everybody can see your vision that you have for yourself. And it doesn't mean you abandon that vision. It just means maybe you need to grow your circle to include more people that can see where you want to be.
100%. And I think that those are two truths that are often in tension for entrepreneurs, is that you have to believe in yourself enough to get through the super high highs and the super low lows of what it takes to be an entrepreneur. And you're going to find a lot of people that are going to question and not believe and not understand and not get it. And I think the ability to, as the other speakers have said, believe in yourself and to get rid of that self-doubt and say, that's okay. You're not here today. That's fine. So finding your hype squad, finding your crew is so, so important. In the work that we've done at Lunar, we operate what's called a cohort model. And so what that means is that we bring a group of 15 entrepreneurs together for 6 months, and they learn and work and operate together as founders. And we have found that to be the most transformational change that we see is when founders are learning together, when the entrepreneurs are learning together, when they're sharing information, when someone comes to the table and says, gosh, I've just had a really hard day. I didn't have a contract that protected me around something, and I wish I had, and what do I do now? And then someone next to them gets to say, oh, you know what, that happened to me. Here's the name of my lawyer, or here's a pro bono legal service, that I worked with, or, there's a ton of different resources around town. And the reality is that it can be kind of complicated to navigate our ecosystem and to know which resources are right for you. Because a lot of them, we have a very specific type of entrepreneur and stage that we support, and so does META and Neon and LEDC and all of these other really great organizations. So being able to go in and just talk to people about like what's out there for us. I think one of the things that we've seen coming out of the COVID-19 pandemic and the relief that government agencies are trying to bring forward is that there's new programs in Hennepin County and Ramsey County that are coming forward to really try and centralize a lot of that information and to bring low cost or free resources to entrepreneurs. So for example, Elevate Business HC from Hennepin County, you can go and get free coaching from the Activate Network or from the Coven or from Social Impact Strategies Group. There's really great resources. We've had entrepreneurs who suddenly they had a brick and mortar business and then COVID hit and they said, I have to do e-commerce. What do I do? And so they had to go ask for help, and there was great resources that were available for them. And I think that's the last thing is that what you'll oftentimes hear is entrepreneurs who practice asking for help are going to be the ones that are going to be able to move the needle further and farther and faster on their business. And when being an entrepreneur is already really challenging and you have a lot of risk and decision making and all these other complex components, there's a bit of a vulnerability there. I'm sure that the other speakers can relate to. Of you have to say like, I don't know something, or I need help, and not all of us are socialized, to be able to do that really easily. And so I think that practicing, it's like a muscle. You have to like work it out and to make it stronger. And so to be able to practice and say when you go into a room and and you're talking to people that maybe are new, or you're building that community, to say, hey, you know what, I could really use an introduction to this person at this place. Can anyone help with that? And people want to see you succeed, and people love to be a part of your success. And so like practicing to ask that is such an important, I think, strategy for helping to build yourself and your business and your confidence.
And it can really feel scary sometimes if the idea of saying or feeling like I don't know something and then having to, ask, sometimes it can feel scary because to ask reveals that you don't know. And then sometimes it kind of keeps people afraid to grow, or you're kind of paralyzed in growing because there's that worry there that maybe this is something I'm supposed to know and I don't know. And the only way you're going to know is if you ask, but then you're afraid to ask because you don't want people to think that, you don't know things that maybe you think other people feel you should.
Yeah. And I think that there's also there's language barriers, whether you're an, native US born English speaking or not, the jargon of the business sector that people kind of assume you should or shouldn't know. I call myself a jargon head. And so like when Fabiana said neuroplasticity, I was like, ooh, that's exciting. I want to learn that term. But there's so many terms in business that people who have grown up in it or who've been around it for a long time, they forget that it's not actually everybody knows those words. Not everybody knows what annual recurring revenue means, or what it looks like to have what IP is, or what a contract for protecting IP might be. And so I think that in our culture, it's good for us to practice not knowing and to change our minds and to grow and evolve. And I think entrepreneurs get to do that live in action every single day, because oftentimes, whether you're the one who's taking out the trash or who's paying payroll, like a lot of times in those early days, you're doing all the things. And so you can't know all the things too. And that's what's great about building a community around you who can really kind of help fill those gaps and be a part of that process with you.
Excellent point. And we've got about 10 minutes left. If anyone is watching and you have a comment or anything you want to share with us, certainly post those below and we'll try to get them on the screen. And if you have any questions, hopefully we'll be able to get those answered with the ladies before we wrap up. Fabiana, what would you say in the journey to creating Feel Fabulous by Fabiana? What would you say that the experience of getting to where you are, what have you learned in this journey that you didn't know about yourself, that maybe you're like, hey, like I'm pretty good at this?
Basically everything about being an entrepreneur.
Yeah.
My entire life was, I worked for Fortune 100 companies. So working for Bloomberg, I would just pick up the phone and get whatever I wanted for anything. And now, like, I had to create my own website. I had to take care of my own finances. I have to do everything myself. And one of the things that I learned is that I used to say I'm bad at technology, and that's all about the way you think is what you end up reacting. Remember I said, so when I said I'm bad at technology, I would not even get close to it. And when I said, okay, I don't have the money to hire someone to create the website for me, so I'll just try. I built it in 2 days, and it was not that hard. So I think that the important things that I learned, I think that I want to share that will probably help people is, number one, and you guys talked about it, not specifically how I'm going to say, but dreams are beautiful to have, but the distance between your dreams and reality is called action. If you don't take action, nothing happens. So this is the first thing. Remember that if you have a dream, sit down, write it down, make a list, try to see possibilities, different perspectives if it's not working, and understanding what kind of thing you want. Like, for example, when I was thinking about the life coaching, I was like, okay, how do I organize this? You start with the who. Who do I want to serve? Because if it's a purpose, it has to be personal. So who do I want to serve? And once you find that out, why do I want to? The why is key. Why do I want to serve these people? And then after the why, you was like, how am I gonna, serve these people? So and don't wait for perfection. Like, perfectionism is actually just your insecurity lurking around because you want to look perfect, do perfect, too perfect so that you're accepted. Don't work for perfection. Just start doing it and fixing it, because at the end of the day, failure is the path to success. When you fail, you're learning. You're actually finding the right path. So I failed many times. I just like, okay, this didn't work. What can I learn from that so I don't make that mistake again? And I move one step at a time. So those are all the things that I learned. And being an entrepreneur is still very new to me. It's only been 3 years, and I was 30 years in the corporate world. So I'm still learning and loving it.
And committed to it. And when you're doing something you love, you show up so differently. And even though it may be work to someone else, it may be more of, I'm investing time in something I really love, which is different. You show up differently for that. And Mimi, I think one of the things that I just love about you and all the things that you do is you live life without limits. Like, the list of things that you want to grow, build, accomplish, and do, there are no limits there. And it's such a beautiful way to live, because I think so many times, many of us get caught in our head about the things that, we think, oh, I don't know if I could do that, or I'm not sure if I could. But the idea that you continue to build and grow and add to that list of things that you love, which is really a growing list of sharing your passions with those around you. It's like you never get tired, or you never get bored, or you never you're never without anything to do, because you're literally living your passion.
Yes, absolutely. Just the same way you just described it right now, that's exactly what I would want to say. It makes me happy when other people are happy. When I teach classes, at the end of the class, they come and hug me, and they come back to my class again. Seeing repeated participants makes me happy. So those kind of things would encourage me to do more. That's why I started doing not just Ethiopian, I started doing other classes as well. And then at the same time, doing the event organizing part of it. I do concerts for the cultural performances, bring somebody from my country to help inspire someone here. But seeing the people being happy, enjoying their time encourages me to do more. So one advice, Sam, you already mentioned it, is do not discourage yourself. Encourage yourself to do more. You have an idea, just put it to work, write it down. And try to make it work, because a lot of times we're not perfect, but just giving it a try will inspire us to do even better than what we're doing right now. So I like to mention that to you.
That is such a great point, and just having the courage to try. You may not get it right every time. I know Fabiana mentioned she failed a few times, but sometimes those failures and that continued willingness to keep trying and get up one more time, you eventually get to that one that works in your formula, that you're like, okay, this is the one I can do with consistency and repeat and find success here. You had to have all those mess ups and those commitment to the process to see it through to get to that end result. And so, Roseline, if you could leave, I've got about 4 minutes left. If you could leave anyone with any words of wisdom, if they are sitting on an idea and they're wondering, where do I begin? What do I do? Where do I start? What would you want that person to hear from you?
One thing that I always want people to do is to ask for help and ask for advice from other people who are already doing the work you're doing. When I launched my business, I reached out to so many people quite often, and don't stop at the first person who's like, I can't help you. So, for example, with candles, I knew that other people were already making candles and that they had a best way of making candles. So I looked up candle makers and what they were doing correctly and what can I learn from them. And also I met with women in business that were in the Twin Cities, and I went to them and asked them questions about how did you actually do this? What advice, I just put myself in a place that was what we would describe of like, I'm just here to learn. I had to not position myself as an expert because I was not we will never just arrive somewhere. So position yourself in a position of I need to learn as much information as possible all the time. And I'm still learning. I'm going to be learning until, we all face the grave someday. And I have to keep reminding myself and reminding people, like, don't stop at like the first idea. Don't stop at the first person who's like, no, I can't support you and I can't help this. Just keep asking for help. And also, like, don't be afraid to launch it. That's the first thing. Like, in the book that I listened to that was called Company of One really helped me. Like launch the product or the idea and put it out there in the world. When I first started my candle business, I didn't have a website. I had my Instagram account and I had my friends that wanted to buy it. And so I just kept posting about it and kept talking about it, literally I was living, breathing and thinking candles and asking questions from friends and family that were burning them. I made them my free focus group where I was like, okay, you burn this candle for free. Tell me if it works. And then come back and give me feedback so I can know how to make it better. And so find those people in your life who support you in your dream and ask them for questions that are related to the ideas that you have and see if it works. So just keep going and launch it. And by launching it, I mean, just put it out there in the world. Don't keep it to yourself, put it out in the world and see if it's something that is going to generate enough interest and support from the community around you.
I love that. And we're getting close to wrapping up, and I want to give everyone a chance to leave some final thoughts. Fabiana, I'll let you go next to just leave us with some final thoughts for anyone watching that may be sitting on an idea or a dream and they're not sure where to start, where to go. They're wondering if they're too old, they should have done this years ago. And, it's never too late to do what you love.
It definitely isn't. At the end of the day, your thoughts create your own reality. So the way you're thinking is exactly what's going to be creating your life experience. So think about that. If you're feeling weird, ask yourself, what am I thinking about? Is it true? If any one of you know who Byron Katie is, you know those questions. She created this very simple way of trying to help yourself when you're having a negative thought. And psychiatrists use that, by the way. When you have a negative thought, I'm going to give you 4 questions to ask, and that's Byron Katie's. 1, is it true? 2, can I 100% confirm that this thought is true? 3, how do I feel and how do I react when I have this thought, when I believe in this thought? And number 4, who would I be if I did not believe in this thought? Then turn the thought around and use that one next time.
I love that. Thank you so much, Fabiana. And Mimi, what would you like to leave people with? If you could leave them with any advice or words of encouragement, if they're trying to decide, can I start a new journey? Can I try or do more of the thing that I'm passionate about?
I would say go for it. Don't discourage yourself. Go for it. Any idea that you have, put it out there. No idea should be not noticeable. So if you have one tiny idea, that could be a big success before you know it. So don't hold on to it. Share it with somebody that you love. Share it with friends. Get encouragement. Stay around positive people and it will happen.
All right. Awesome. And Danielle, final thoughts?
I believe in the power of speaking things into existence and attracting in the world what you put out. So if you have an idea, start talking about it. Just start telling everybody that you talk to about it and see where life takes you.
I love that. Thank you all so much for joining me today for this awesome conversation on crafting a new life. I'll ask you ladies if you can stay with me when I end the broadcast in just a second, and then just recap with you how the conversation transition today. I do want to share quickly before we go. We've got some great topics that are coming up in the next few weeks, and I'll just kind of give you some ideas of what to be on the lookout for. Next Friday, we're going to be talking about crafting a healthier you with Shay Sandifer, the founder of the new Minneapolis Wellness Guru, and Dawn Bryant, who has an amazing weight loss journey experience story, and she's going to be joining to share that with us. We're also on October the 15th going to be talking about embracing the journey to authenticity. A really neat conversation. It's always fascinating to see everyone's individual journeys to living their most authentic life and the lessons that we can take away from that. That conversation will include Shelby M. Wagner, personal development catalyst, podcast host for Catalyst for Conversation, Carly Carey, a plumbing apprentice and teacher, Megs Pulvermacher, LGBTQ plus community builder, podcaster, and school psychologist, and Dr. Zakia Robbins McNeil, an accountability coach, author, and professor. Then at the end of October, we'll be talking about changing careers, feeling the fear, and doing it anyway. A dynamic group of ladies joining us to kind of share their insight. Fabiana will be back for that conversation, as well as we'll have Tamika E. Jones for Lip Esteem lipstick makeup founder, and Hillary Klein, a senior PR specialist, beauty and lifestyle TV expert, and Don Johnson, Coach Don, a life and mindset coach, will be joining us for that conversation. So many cool topics coming up. I'm always adding to the list, but my goal is to meet 100 Minnesotans through the Let's Chat series. So you all are helping me reach my goal. So thank you for joining me tonight. I know it'll probably take me through until next summer or so, but I think it's just great to be able to learn and meet and grow and connect with people in a way that we don't always get to do in television news. So this is just very special to really understand some of the really amazing dynamic people that call the Twin Cities home. So thank you all so much for being a part of this today. I'm going to wrap up the conversation here, and thank you guys for joining us. Have a great night.